So buying a minivan is a tough decision, especially because a lot of times your heart and your pride is saying, buy that 3-row SUV instead. But if you're gonna shop for a minivan, let's make sure you buy the right one. That's why today we're comparing the Honda Odyssey up against the Kia Carnival, the Chrysler Pacifica, and the Toyota Sienna. Let's hop on in. Let's start with what's underneath the hood. So let me pull you on in here. You are looking at a 3.5 liter V6 engine. This is putting out 280 horsepower. It is then running to a 10-speed transmission and then out to front wheel drive. So while we're here, I want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can see how does the 280 horsepower coming out of this stack up against other makes and models out in the world. While that's up, I'll just remind you, if you jump to a Honda Pilot because you were considering SUVs, 285 horsepower, so 5 more horsepower in that thing. But in the comparison here, I want to say the Kia Carnival sneaks this one out with roughly 290 horsepower. Now I'm down on the ground for two reasons. The first is, of course, let's take a look at the front of this car. What do you think it looks like? You know, I feel like when we evaluate cars, we look at the front end and decide, is it grimacing? Does it look cool? Does it look mean? Does it look happy? Does it look goofy as hell? So feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think. But while we're here, I want to talk to you about something that is a little bit goofy, but we should talk about it anywhere. That's 0 to 60 times. This car goes from 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds. So I'm going to throw something up on the screen so you can see how does that stack up against other makes and models out there in the world. While that's up, I'll just remind you, if you were looking at the Honda Pilot, 6.3 seconds. So even if you said, maybe I want an SUV, don't know that it would get you any faster off the line. Now today we're talking about the Honda Odyssey, specifically the EXL. And this is the 18-inch alloy wheel that comes on it. Depending on the trim level of vehicle you pick, understand you're going to get different colors and different size wheels, so just something to keep in mind. But while we're down here, I want to talk to you about MPGs. That is where comparisons start to get really interesting because the Honda Odyssey is only offered in a gasoline model. The Toyota Sienna, the Kia Carnival, and the Chrysler Pacifica offer either hybrid models or gasoline models, or the Toyota Sienna only offers a hybrid model. So that's where things get tricky. This vehicle gets 19 in the city and 28 on the highway. It's combined of roughly 22. So I want to throw something up on the screen so you can see how all those other models, hybrid and gasoline, stack up against this. Now, if you're shopping SUVs or if you're shopping minivans, cargo space is going to be important. Let's just be honest. You're probably going to be carrying on kids, all their stuff, all your stuff, a lot of stuff. So let's start to talk about cargo space. In the back of this thing, you've got 32.8 cubic feet of cargo space from here to here. That's with the third row up. Now, while we're back here, I want to point out a couple things. The car does come with carpet floor mats. Not every make and model offers that. The second part is something that's unique to Hondas and specifically how they can stack up compared to SUVs. And that's one, it's got this magic fold-away seat. This is a cool option that you don't get in SUVs. SUVs, they fold flat and you lose space. Here, you get more depth and just a bigger cubic space when you're folding down the second row, which I really like when it comes to Odysseys. You may be asking yourself, how am I sitting right now? And that's because I have the seats flipped upside down and it allows you to sit and face out. Really cool feature that you can do with the Honda Odyssey. If you got kids that play softball, baseball, soccer, whatever, you've got an awning to cover you and you can sit with the AC blowing on your back and watch the game. But while we're back here, I want to talk to you about that 32.8 cubic feet that is behind this third row. I want to show you how that stacks against other makes and models out in the world. So take a look at that. Now, while that's up, I'll remind you, of course, the Kia Carnival, I think, squeaks this out with roughly 40 cubic feet. But understand, when you're looking at minivans, some of them do really cool things that you won't find in an SUV. So if you fold the third row down, from your second row back, you've got 86.6 cubic feet of cargo space in this vehicle. And it's super usable because it's so tall, so long, and so wide, unlike your SUVs where it's going to start to kind of scrunch it in. But I want to throw something up on the screen so you can understand how does the 86.6 stack up against other makes and models out in the world. I want to say the Chrysler Pacifica sneaks this one out by roughly a couple more cubic feet. Now, something you should know is that your entire first row is completely removable and it's on a rail system, as you just saw. So I can pinch this, pull this, and slide these across in the captain's chairs if I remove the center console, or I can remove all three if I want that 155.8 cubic feet. While we're here, though, I want to show something up so you can see how does this stack up against other makes and models out in the world. I want to say this one, winning in the class. So something you should know is that the Honda Odyssey, even in the base model, has a powered tailgate and powered doors, right? So I can open them from the key fob, or I can open them, from the buttons or inside the car. Another thing I really like, though, is these, all you gotta do is one push pull, right? I pull it and then it goes. But they also have sensors set up. So if somebody bitty little hands gets caught in here, it won't crush their fingers. Unlike SUVs where you slam that door in your little sister's hand and everyone has a bad day going to the emergency room. There's even a sensor for the moonroof. Pretty cool. If you're still trying to convince yourself whether you should buy an SUV or if you should buy a minivan, sliding doors makes a big difference. And some of the reasons that are going to be that is that when you pull into a spot, think about it. If you got little kids and they're trying to open the door, chances are they're going to open that door and swing it too wide and they're going to hit the car next to them. These guys, you touch it and it just slides open. It gives you more of an opening and it's easier to use. Secondarily, if you needed to put maybe a child seat through this guy, it's way easier to do than a Honda Pilot. The third reason is they're going to be ground entry. It is lower to the ground than an SUV, but if you got little ones, how nice is it if they can open the door themselves, climb into the car themselves, and get buckled up versus you having to do all of that work? Just something to consider. Now, I'm back on the ground because I guess I just like getting dirty. Or I want to talk to you about ground clearance. This car's got 4.5 inches of ground clearance. So depending on where you live, if it's somewhere really rural or somewhere with bad roads, that may or may not matter. So understand, if you're looking for something like that, this one may not be the car for you. But I'm going to throw a comparison up so you can see which other cars may do better. I want to see the Kia Carnival sneaks this one out. So let's talk about front row leg space. In the front of this vehicle, you've got 40.9 inches of leg space. So I'm 6 foot, 250 pounds. If I hop in the front of this thing and start sliding the seat back, I've got quite a bit of leg room to use in this vehicle. So if you're a bigger guy, bigger girl, shouldn't be an issue. Now, I'm going to throw a comparison up so you can see how does the 40.9 inches in this vehicle stack up against other makes and models out in the world. I want to say the winner was roughly like 41 inches. So it's a small gap that we're talking about in comparisons. Now, if you're thinking, hey, what about the Honda Pilot? 41 inches is how much front row leg space that vehicle offers. So let's talk about second row leg space. In the second row of this car, 40.9 inches. That number probably sounds super familiar because it's the exact same as the front. So I've got plenty of space to work with. I've got these folded back, but it is on a bar system if you need to slide to make some additional room for your third row passenger. I'm going to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can see how this car stacks up against other makes and models. I want to say it wins the category. While that's up though, I'll just remind you, if you were looking at a Honda Pilot, 40.8 inches of second row leg space. While we're back here, I just want to point out the amenities. Of course, you have leather interior here. You've got seat back pockets. You've got cup holders. You've got a couple USBs down there. You've got additional cup holders over there in the door. And then you do have sunshades. And of course, you do have your flip down armrest. And these seats do flip down as well. So I'm here in the third row, and this is where things really start to differ when we're talking about minivans versus like 3-row SUVs. I have got 38.1 inches of leg space. Now, what does that mean? It means I have this seat pushed all the way back and I can still fit behind myself comfortably, right? I don't have to sit diagonal or sit with my legs all the way over there or anything like that. I can sit like a normal human in the car. Now, I want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you see how does the 38.1 cubic feet in this vehicle stack up against other makes and models. I want to say the Sienna sneaks us about with 38.7. But while that's up, I want to remind you, if you went to the Honda Pilot, it'd be 32.5. So you lose like 6, almost 7 inches of leg space in the back of that car, where it makes it not as usable for adults or larger children. While we're back here though, I'll just point out, of course, you do have sliding headrests. You do have your cup holders back here. You do have air vents on both sides, along with a 12-volt outlet. So this next section is going to be about towing. This may or may not matter to you, but let's talk about it for a second. The first part is, if I'm looking at minivans versus like 3-row SUVs, 3-row SUVs are typically going to tow more. To give you an example, the Honda Odyssey does 3,500 pounds, right? It only comes in a 2-wheel drive model. The Honda Pilot comes in a 2-wheel drive model that does 3,500 pounds, or an all-wheel drive model that does 5,000 pounds. So if towing is important, maybe you want to consider some 3-row SUVs. But let's talk about towing specifically to minivans. This car gets 3,500 pounds. I'm going to throw that comparison up so you can see how does this stack up against other makes and models out there in the world. I want to say the Chrysler Pacifica gas-powered model gets 3,600 and wins the category. But the interesting thing is, if you look at the Chrysler Pacifica hybrid model, they don't recommend you tow anything with it. Or if you look at the Kia Carnival, the gas power does 3,500, but the hybrid model does 2,500. So there's interesting kind of shift here depending on what you're looking at and what style of it you are looking at. Really quickly, I'll walk you through what's inside of the touchscreen so you're just going to understand what does this come with. You have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Of course, you can connect via Bluetooth, FM, AM, all your normal setups. 90 days of Sirius XM, and then you can connect up and start that subscription if you want it. Bluetooth audio, if you got a device you want to stream from, great, you can do it. Trip computer, you can see this, of course, here or over behind your steering wheel if that's something you want. As we scroll across here, general settings and vehicle settings. General settings is like equalizer, things like that. Vehicle settings is where I can control like door locks, walkaway auto locks, lockout prevention, remote start, different features like that. So that's where you're gonna find a little bit deeper features. USB, if you wanted to plug something into the USB drive that had a bunch of music stored to it, know that you absolutely can. System updates are all handled by Wi-Fi, so all you gotta do is to be able to connect up. Honda Link. If you're not familiar with Honda Link, there's one feature that's free. It's been free for years, and that's when you connect up a phone via Bluetooth, it'll prompt you. If you get in an accident, they can call you. If you don't answer, they can call 911 and report your last location, your make, model, color of your vehicle to help get you safe, right? This is if the airbags deploy. On top of that, if you go to HondaLink.com, they've got a whole bunch of different subscription fees depending on the trim level and vehicle you pick of different things that you do, from concierge services to, controlling door locks and remote start from your phone and all kinds of different things. So feel free to check that out if those are things that interest you. The car, of course, does come with a compass. Smart shortcuts. This will just pick up on your habits and then start to create this shortcut as something that you use constantly. So whether it's a particular channel on XM or whatever the case may be, it can start to fill that in. And you can move these buttons all around. Display, lighten it, darken it. Cabin talk is one of those cool features. What this does is if I'm using this, it will allow me to speak through a microphone that then pushes to the back of the vehicle so that they can hear me better, so I don't have to turn around and yell a whole bunch. Just a really cool feature for a car that has 3 rows that sometimes the third person just can't hear you. Now, real quick, I just want to give you a quick layout of the steering wheel and talk to you about some safety features. So on here, this isn't like overload with buttons, right? It's pretty easy to understand. You've got a home button, tracks, volume, right? Voice command. And then on the other side, this is going to be some of your safety support features and specifically adaptive cruise control, right? So let's talk about this for a second. I've got it pulled up to the safety support settings. So I want to jump into this, right? So I'm going to jump in and let's talk about these different features. This car has road departure mitigation. Now what that feature is if it's looking like you're going to drive off the shoulder of the road, the car can give you an audible alert and actually vibrate the wheel to say, hey, wake up, pay attention. Understand you can turn these features all on and off. Now the next feature down is going to be your blind spot indicators. Of course, in the mirror, you have blind spot indicators and it will alert you if somebody's in your blind spot, and then it will actually start to beep if you start to get over without putting on your signal. Now the next one down is going to be your collision mitigation braking system. So the car has radar in the front and a camera up here, and it is looking for vehicles in front of you. It's going to use this for adaptive cruise control. But what happens is if I'm going down the road and somebody gets in front of me and we're going 65 and they drop down to 55, it'll actually slow down and prevent me from rear-ending that car. So it can bring me all the way to a stop if it needs to. So the first one is going to be your adaptive cruise control. So I'm going to talk about that first because it really relates. When you get up to your speed, you pick your speed. From there, you can select this button. Now, the more boxes that you select in here, the more space it's going to keep between you and the car in front of you. In that same way collision mitigation braking works, if I'm going down the road, someone's going 70, I'm behind them, and they slow down to 55, it'll keep that designated space that I pick. Now the next feature is lane keep assist. That is this button right here. When you turn this on, you'll see that same signal come up there. What it's using is a camera up here to detect the lines on the road. So if you're in the middle lane of a highway and you start to drift a little bit to the left or the right, it'll actually correct for you and center you and keep you inside of your lane. Now, should you buy a Honda Odyssey or the EXL for roughly $44,600? That's a lot of money. But I will tell you that if you're shopping this compared to SUVs, this car just does so much when it comes to a third row that folds away or that you can use as like reclining chairs, a second row that's removable and on a rail system, right? It offers a lot of really cool features. Now, is it pretty? Is it sexy? Right? Is it going to get you ladies? Absolutely not. Your pride's going to hurt a little bit, and so is your heart when you're buying this car, but it makes a lot of sense. Having sensors in doors so little fingers don't get stuck. Being able to open and close them in tight spaces versus having a big SUV and then having to swing the doors open makes things a lot harder. The Honda Odyssey makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. Now, once you've decided I want a minivan, should you buy the Odyssey versus the Chrysler Pacifica versus the Toyota Sienna versus the Kia Carnival? Well, you saw a lot of the comparisons I saw today, and I would encourage you to get out there and test drive them. See what you think. Find out which one you like, but understand, depending on the model, depending on the trim, depending on if it's hybrid, if it's non-hybrid, there are a lot of factors that may affect your decision. So, with that said, I hope you'll do me a couple favors. 1, I hope you press the like button because you like the way I'm presenting the comment. 2, I hope you leave a comment. If there's something you feel like I missed or something you want me to go over or a different kind of comparison you wish I'd make, leave a comment, let me know. Or maybe you just think I'm doing a good job and you want to say, good job, bud. Other than that, I hope you'll share the video if you got any friends who are shopping. And of course, subscribe to the channel. When I make content like this, you will receive it. So, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Later, guys!